Does it feel to you like your life is being consumed by caregiving? Does it feel like your parent is actually trying to control your life? Like they're intentionally doing it? And does the fact that it's intentional or not even matter? When it comes to whether our parents are intentionally doing it or not, if historically your parent has been manipulative or tried to control you or overstep their boundaries, then it might be intentional. And if we believe that it's intentional, that's actually the part that most affects us. If we believe it's intentional, then we might respond in anger or resentment or lashing out. It's like our brain is trying to protect us. So it puts up a wall because it feels like it's being threatened. So similar to fight or flight, our brain says, uh-oh, this person's trying to get us to do something that we don't want to do. We have to protect ourselves. But what that does in our mind is it leads us to not be able to think clearly, to make rash decisions, to be sometimes overly emotional, basically to not be able to problem solve very well. On the other hand, if we believe that our parent isn't doing this intentionally, they have a cognitive issue or they're insecure or even they're afraid, then our brain doesn't have to do that thing where it thinks it has to survive, so it has to put up a wall and it has to fight back. Instead, our brain can think clearly, it can problem solve, come up with solutions, and we feel better internally. If we're thinking about finding solutions, the intention we believe matters. But other than that, the bottom line is that we feel like our life's being overwhelmed. The intention doesn't matter in that case. And then if we take it another step further and we say that our parent is intentionally doing this and they need to stop, what that does is it sets up more internal struggle for us. There's a dissonance because we believe that they are doing this on purpose. We believe they have to stop doing this. And the reality is that we can't control them. We can't control whether they stop doing this or not. Our control lies in what we can do, in how we respond, in the steps we take to protect ourselves. And the first step in being able to do that is recognizing that that's happening, recognizing that we're feeling controlled. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the things you might see in your parent that might be controlling type behaviors, whether it's intentional or not, doesn't matter. Then we're going to look at the things we might see in ourselves. And then at the end of the video, we're going to talk about some things you can do to find more balance in caregiving. I'm Tammy Provenzel. I've been a physical therapist for 20 years. I'm a life coach, and I'm one of the caregivers to my 90-year-old mom. I started this channel because I'm on a mission to make information more accessible to caregivers, especially of an aging parent. So what are some of the signs that you might see in your parent that they're trying to control you, whether it's intentional or not? One of the things you might see is them trying to consume all your time. They might call you all day long. They don't take into consideration anything that you have to do. They don't think about the fact that you have a whole life outside of caregiving. They might expect you to just come over and do something whenever they want. They might expect you to come over every day or multiple times a day. Another thing you might see is an attempt to put you on a guilt trip. So they might say things like, I brought you into this world, you owe me, or after all I've done for you, don't you think you should be doing this? Or even things like, I won't be around forever. So they might make you feel guilty for doing things that you like to do or having a life outside of them. Another thing you might see is they're resisting outside help. So they might think, or they might say, that you're the only person that can do this. And whenever you try to get somebody else to do some of the things, they might act like you're the only one. You also might see that they criticize your life choices. They might criticize you in front of people, in front of your kids or your family, or they might criticize you just all the time, generally. Another thing you might see is that they cross the line regarding your personal privacy. They might ask you questions that are personal, that you don't feel comfortable talking to your parent about. Or they might do something like go through your personal belongings. Another thing you might see is them trying to manipulate you to meet their needs. So they might emotionally make you feel like you're responsible for their health and their well-being. They might say things like, I'm so lonely when you're not here. It's so sad being all alone. Or they might even fake an illness or a sickness to get you to come over more. Another thing that sometimes happens is financial control used as a manipulation. So especially if your parent is paying for the care that you're providing, they might use that to control you. Or they might say things like they'll cut you out of the will if you don't do something. And then they also might do things that undermine your authority. So maybe in front of your siblings that are also caring for a parent, they might say things that undermine your decisions or ignore what you've recommended or even belittle you in front of other people. So those are some of the things you might see in your parent, whether it's intentional or not again. Some of the things you might see in yourself are what we're going to talk about next. So those include things like the loss of autonomy. If you notice that you're having trouble making decisions, even little decisions, you're always second guessing yourself or you're asking for others' opinions because you can't make the decision, that might be a clue that you're giving up too much of yourself. Another thing you might notice is increased stress and anxiety. If you feel anxious and stressed, even just thinking about going to your parents' house or having to do a caregiving task, that might be a sign that you're feeling overwhelmed. There's not enough space for yourself. You might even get things like headaches, stomach aches, or other illnesses or sicknesses. You also might feel resentment. It's normal to feel resentment and frustration, but if you're feeling like resentment is all you're feeling or frustration is all you're feeling, that might be a sign that you're giving up too much of yourself. If you notice that you're isolating, so you're spending so much time as a caregiver that you have no social life, or your family and friends are saying they don't ever see you, you don't do any of the hobbies that you've always loved, that might be a sign that you're giving too much of yourself. You might also feel your self-esteem decreasing. If you're feeling like you're being criticized or controlled all the time, and you feel like your self-esteem is suffering because of that, that could be a sign that you're giving too much. If you're feeling constantly tired and exhausted and burnt out, emotionally and physically, that's probably a sign that you're giving too much of yourself. And then if you find yourself neglecting the things that you want in life, your goals, your dreams, because you're caregiving. So if you're missing doctor's appointments, or you've put off career goals to do this, or you're neglecting hobbies and activities that you enjoy, that's a sign that you might be giving too much of yourself. So what do you do now? So you've figured out, I can see behaviors in mom or dad. I can see these behaviors and feelings in myself. So what do you do with this information? Here's some things you can do to try to make caregiving a little more balanced. The first thing we can do is to focus on ourselves. In caregiving, just like in many things in life, we have to put the oxygen on ourselves first. Because the reality is, if we don't protect and care for ourselves, we may not be here to protect and care for them anyway. So by focusing on ourselves, that means that we think about how we feel in this situation. Even the things that are hard for us to acknowledge. Acknowledging it brings it to the light. It actually can make us feel better because we're not trying to suppress everything. Another really good thing to do is to set boundaries. So with your parent and maybe other family members, define what you're willing and able to do. And think about all the things involved. This includes like how much caregiving, how much of the actual tasks of caregiving are you willing and able to do? How much of the financial support are you willing and able to do? How much of the transportation stuff are you willing and able to do? How much are you willing to visit? How much are you willing to communicate? Another thing to do is to think about and prepare for the future. The future could be as early as tomorrow, but in starting to think about what it might look like, then we can come up with plans about how we might manage that. So think about things like living arrangement. If your parent is living on their own, the progression of that might be that somebody has to live with them or they have to live with you. The progression of that might be that they go into a facility. So thinking these things through before you have to do it can be easier. It ends up being not so emotionally draining if we can plan things ahead of time. And then prepare an exit plan. So that exit plan is, how do you exit yourself out of the situation of caregiving, out of the role of caregiving? If caregiving gets to a point where you can't do it anymore, have a plan in place. Start talking to social service organizations, any other agencies or individuals that you can talk to that can help you plan on getting out of the situation if you need to do that. Even just having the feeling of having a backup plan can feel really good. It can help you to decrease your stress level. Hopefully some of these things help you to see that acknowledging what is truly going on, regardless of why it's going on, and then we do some planning, we're taking control and trying to bring more balance back to our life. Thanks for watching.